And Bitcoin's up, what do we say, 1,500%. So it's up above that. So the key insight is that they're not just buying Bitcoin. What they're doing is they became a Bitcoin company. They learned how to leverage the debt and equity markets to lever up the Bitcoin, which is why they get that additional yield. And there's a lot of companies doing this now. We can see that another company right here, a company called MetaPlanet, has now followed their lead, and they're getting even better results. As a matter of fact, MetaPlanet, when priced in Bitcoin, not US dollars, is beating Bitcoin by 677% above Bitcoin. That's like what cryptocurrency used to do. That's what Ethereum and XRP used to do, but now it's happening to Bitcoin publicly traded companies. Okay, why publicly traded companies? It's because institutional companies need real institutional plays. What we can see is this is mining companies are doing this, tech companies are doing this, service providing companies are doing this, startups are doing this, and this is really creating what we're calling a Bitcoin treasury strategy revolution.
Mark steps back to look at the bigger picture of the economy. The world's debt has increased by over 60% in the past 10 years, and central banks are still producing money at a rate never seen before. In the middle of all, Mark emphasizes how Bitcoin became a lifeboat in a monetary economy that was collapsing. Its performance is indisputable. In a matter of years, it went from being worth a few $100s to tens of thousands. Bitcoin has shown itself to be a durable asset. It challenges the fundamental tenets of conventional finance, despite concerns, skepticism, and innumerable claims that it is dying. If you're intrigued by bold predictions and deep financial insights, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more engaging content. Thank you for your support and enjoy the video.
Some people are still like, but Mark, it's gonna happen. I'm like, it's been 2.5 years. But let's take a look at a couple things. Now, the first thing I wanna show you is let's zoom out about 5 years, okay? We're gonna use this time frame. During the last 5 years, this is a chart of Bitcoin priced in US dollars. It's up 1,554%. So if you would have bought it here in 2018 and held it this whole time, you would have made 1,554%. And of course, it went up and down and up and down, way up and down, way up and down, up and down. And it's a volatile ride, but it's obviously, as you can see, it's trended up, okay? Let's establish that first. Now, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about, let's look at some of the other things. Now, the king of alts, the one that everybody's watching right now for alt season. If Ethereum moves, then alt season is back. We can see from its previous all-time high right here, it's currently down 49%, about half of what it was at its previous. Of course, Bitcoin is making new all-time highs continually, and here Ethereum is down 50%, 49% priced in US dollars. Understand that, okay? We're gonna come back to that. Priced in US dollars. Now let's take a look at another chart. If we look at Ethereum, not priced in US dollars, but instead priced in Bitcoin, we see something completely different. Okay, this is where you have to have an open mind. If we look at Ethereum priced in Bitcoin, it's a completely different chart. We can see that Ethereum made a new all-time high here priced in Bitcoin back in 2018. And we can see that it's never reclaimed its all-time high. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much just continued a downward trend, and it's down 84% from its all-time high made in 2018. That's why we looked at that period, okay? What this tells us is it's sort of like a pump and then a dump. It never is able to reclaim back its previous all-time high, okay? This is the king of alts. This is what everybody's waiting for this to move so everything else moves. But we have that benefit right now today. Now, what we can see is the institutions are changing. So we went from retail to institutional. We can see that there's $85 billion flowing into the market right now. This is the institutional money. So for example, BlackRock has the largest Bitcoin ETF. In just the last 14 days alone, $4 billion has come in just to Bitcoin, $4 billion. We have $85 billion that have come into Bitcoin, just Bitcoin, year to date. We can see this is pension funds that have billions of dollars of allocations. This is sovereign wealth funds. These are nations that are bringing money in. We have giant corporations that are bringing money in. We have all these ETFs like the BlackRock ETFs coming in, and they're all bringing money into Bitcoin. Why is that? Well, they want to deploy billions of dollars. And there's only really one asset that's going to be able to hold billions of dollars. For example, if you look at the entire cryptocurrency market cap, there's about 16 million of them listed on CoinMarketCap today. In the top 10, there's only a few of them that trade more than $1 billion per day. So if you want to deploy $1 billion, How do you do that? You can't deploy $1 billion into Shiba Inu or whatever it is. So we have BlackRock here, $4 billion in just 10 days they're trying to deploy in. We can see right here, $85 billion, doubling the amount of money they're putting in per year. We can see right here, they're pushing the cumulative inflows into Bitcoin to $44.3 billion. And again, the top 10 cryptocurrencies can't even accept that type of money, much less the other, whatever, 15, 16 million that there are. So we understand that the market has changed. We went from retail to now sovereign. All right, now let's talk about the performance of these and where this is all going. So what we're seeing is a complete explosion of performance. These Bitcoin derivative companies, these Bitcoin treasury strategy companies are completely crushing traditional markets. Altcoin markets, traditional markets, and even Bitcoin itself. Let's take a look at this. So if we look at the NASDAQ, this is not since 2018, this is just the NASDAQ year to date. What we can see is that the NASDAQ is basically flat. We had a big dip, Donald Trump's tariff scared the market, and now we're basically flat. So the NASDAQ hasn't really made any money. TradFi, we can look again, here's the S&P 500, same thing. Here's the beginning of the year, we had the big tariff scare, we're back to about even. We've made no money in NASDAQ, we've made no money in the S&P 500. Let's look at Ethereum. Not since its all-time high, let's just look at it in the same period year to date. So since January of this year, we're down 32%. When alt season, right? We can look at another one. We can see here, this is a Bitcoin treasury strategy company, okay? Not priced in US dollars, but priced in Bitcoin. We can see this is up 1,337% in the same period. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about crazy returns. Here's another one. You've heard me talk about this one before, Matador. It's a little company out of Canada. We can see this one's up 337% in the same time period against Bitcoin. We're talking about real money. We're talking about real big moves.
Mark refers to it as a revolution in Bitcoin treasury strategy. The concept is straightforward but quite potent. Businesses can purchase Bitcoin with the funds they raise by issuing shares or taking on debt. In this manner, they profit from both the increase in the price of Bitcoin and the additional boost they receive as a publicly traded company that owns Bitcoin as a primary asset. MicroStrategy outperformed Bitcoin in just this manner. Metaplanet and Matador employ the same tactic to outperform conventional markets. For this reason, institutional investors are investing in these businesses instead of altcoins, which serve as effective replacements for Bitcoin. To remain up to date on the most recent developments in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the digital economy, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications.
Now, the new asset class that's popped up is the MicroStrategy Blueprint. All right, this is changing everything. It's the most exciting part of the market right now. So MicroStrategy was a company, it was a software company by Michael Saylor. I've talked about them many times. Of course, you know about them by now. But what they did is they started a Bitcoin strategy, and they went and changed their name from MicroStrategy to Strategy. And now they're teaching that same strategy to all the other companies. Now, they have grown their Bitcoin holdings. Right here it says 576,000. As a matter of fact, now it's over 580,000. It's going up so fast we can't even keep up. 580,000 Bitcoin as of May 26, and they continue to raise billions of dollars to continue to put into more Bitcoin. And now they're taking that strategy and teaching all the other companies how to do that. Now, what's interesting about MicroStrategy doing this is it's beating Bitcoin itself. So we looked at the altcoins, Ethereum, XRP, the giants, and how they're actually losing money to Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, not priced in US dollars, but priced in Bitcoin, is actually up 278% since it adopted its Bitcoin treasury strategy. It's up almost 3 times over Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's up, what do we say, 1,500%. So it's up above that. So the key insight is that they're not just buying Bitcoin. What they're doing is they became a Bitcoin company. They learned how to leverage the debt and equity markets to lever up the Bitcoin, which is why they get that additional yield. And there's a lot of companies doing this now. We can see that another company right here, a company called Metaplanet, has now followed their lead, and they're getting even better results. As a matter of fact, Metaplanet, when priced in Bitcoin, not US dollars, is beating Bitcoin by 677% above Bitcoin. That's like what cryptocurrency used to do. That's what Ethereum and XRP used to do, but now it's happening to Bitcoin publicly traded companies. Okay, why publicly traded companies? It's because institutional companies need real institutional plays. what we can see is this is mining companies are doing this, tech companies are doing this, service providing companies are doing this, startups are doing this, and this is really creating what we're calling a Bitcoin treasury strategy revolution. All right, now, I sort of call these like Bitcoin derivatives because I'm not buying Bitcoin directly. I'm buying a derivative of Bitcoin. I'm buying a public company that's a proxy that's supported by Bitcoin, okay? But they are real companies registered with the SEC, listed on the NASDAQ, with real revenue and with real returns. All right. So these companies are publicly traded. They're built on the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're building either on and around the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're holding Bitcoin as their treasury asset, meaning they're trying to beat Bitcoin specifically. And these are ones that have strategic focus. Now, the critical distinction is, again, these aren't crypto projects. These are publicly listed NASDAQ plays. All right, now the reason why is because institutions, if you're a sovereign wealth fund or you're a pension fund, you happen to need audited financials, you need public trading, you need real revenues, you need the company to follow like regulatory compliance. And so if you're going to deploy billions of dollars, they must follow these things. They must be real companies, and that's why we're seeing that. With cryptocurrency, what we had was white papers from who knows who. Now we have public company disclosures. We used to have no revenue. Now we have audited financials and real revenue. Again, we have real companies doing real things.
According to Mark Moss, a novel and potent concept known as the MicroStrategy Blueprint is making an appearance in the market. Since this is the most interesting aspect of the Bitcoin ecosystem, he claims that it is now changing everything. As part of their treasury strategy, MicroStrategy, a software business founded by Michael Saylor, started purchasing substantial quantities of Bitcoin. MicroStrategy has over 580,000 Bitcoin, and they are still raising billions of dollars to purchase more. The most intriguing aspect, though, is that MicroStrategy is doing more than just purchasing Bitcoin. They turned into a Bitcoin-focused business and discovered how to use the debt and stock markets to purchase more Bitcoin, which increases their profits. When comparing MicroStrategy's performance to Bitcoin instead of US dollars, Mark notes that the company has increased 278% since implementing its Bitcoin strategy, indicating that it is outperforming Bitcoin. According to him, this is bringing about a revolution in Bitcoin treasury strategy, where businesses are becoming Bitcoin firms rather than only purchasing Bitcoin. They function similarly to Bitcoin derivatives in that investors purchase shares in businesses that hold substantial quantities of Bitcoin and provide additional returns through their operations rather than purchasing Bitcoin directly. In his closing remarks, Mark states that we are living through a period of migration in which institutions are joining the market, and these publicly traded companies are becoming a crucial means for them to learn about Bitcoin while meeting legal obligations. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you thought his viewpoint was helpful so you don't miss any updates. We'd love to know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency markets, so please share your ideas in the comments section. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.